Hey, future internship students. My name is Madison Hale, and I'm excited to present my experience with my internship with you. So I did my internship at Journeys DDA, which is a agency that works with kids and adults who have disabilities. And how I arranged my internship is I actually knew the manager, Andy, and also the director of the Children's Services, Lana. And so I was just talking with them, and Lana decided that she would love to work with me. I talked with her about some of my goals and my experiences and what I wanted to do in the future. And she thought that I would be a perfect fit. And so that's who I did my internship with. I did mine with Lana, and she is the director of Children's Services for Journeys. So for my 160 hours, I got to do a lot of fun things. One of them was grant writing. Lana is also, she also has a bunch of other nonprofit organizations, and one of them is giving iPads to kids with disabilities to help them with their communication, with social stories, with anything that helps them further their progress towards independence. And so I got to search for some grants, and then I found one and was able to write one to help get some money to provide these iPads. Another thing I got to do, I got to make flyers for a variety of different events and trainings. My biggest thing is that I got to help families and children find resources in the community. So an example of that is there was a mom that came in, and she had a son that had kind of a rare disability. It was a mental health disability, and so I had to research and call around and try and find a company or someone that specialized in that specific disability, and try and find some help for this child and this family that really needed it. Another cool thing I got to do was I got to read the book Uniquely Human, and that talks about autism and helping to understand what autism is, why they do the things they do. And that was really interesting to me because even though I've worked in the field for a long time, I didn't quite understand exactly what's going on with autism. Another cool thing I got to do was probably my favorite thing was the retreat planning. And so this is what Lana does for one of her nonprofits, is she designs a couple-day camp for parents who have kids with disabilities to be able to go and to get rejuvenated, to get educated, and to connect and meet other families who are going through the same thing. And so I was able to research different venues and activities and go to their planning meetings. So that was really fun. And then we also helped plan a day for dads. And so it's just for dads to be able to go out together and connect and have fun and still get some training. And so we talked about different people that could come in and talk to them during like a lunch. We talked about going golfing, going to the shooting range. So I think that'll be really fun for those dads to be able to connect and have some time for themselves. And then I also helped with staff training. I designed some t-shirts because they're going to go to see Temple Grandin in Boise. Some of the parents are, so I got to design some shirts. I attended a lot of meetings, like trainings and meeting with parents. I got to go into a couple of the hiring, how they hire, the whole process of that. I got to meet with the staff and help problem solve some of the issues that have come up. And so that was really fun and insightful to see how it goes from the staff to helping parents. So that's what I did for my 160 hours. So how I benefited Journeys is that I have knowledge in this community. I've worked for over 10 years with children who have disabilities, and so my focus was not Journeys. You usually can work with the children as your internship, but because I've had that experience, I wanted to focus more on working with families, and so that's why I got to work with Lana and working with the families. I also have experience working with Medicaid. Journeys is a Medicaid-funded agency. And so I had, so they could use terminology and I understood that. Um, and then I also brought in creativity. I was able to create the flyers for, events and functions, and I made save the date invitations for those retreats, and I designed some t-shirts. How I benefited. Um, so I love this quote by Dr. Thurman, and he says, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go and do that, because what the world needs are people who have come alive." And I love that quote because that's what this internship did for me, is I found what made me come alive. I found that passion, and that is working with families who have kids with disabilities. I love this community, and I've been in it for so long, but I love being able to help the whole family and not just an individual. Well, I love that too. I like the whole aspect of working with families. Then I was also able to better understand disabilities. Like I mentioned before, I learned more about autism. There's a bunch of other disabilities that I got to research, but this one was most intriguing to me because this is the one I didn't understand. And I was able to look at brain imageries and research and read about the neuroscience behind autism and how their brains function. And for me, that was so interesting, and I love that. And then I also got the firsthand experience of working with families, sitting across from them, seeing their needs and seeing, the pain and the frustration and sometimes the joys of having a kid with disabilities, and all the things that go into that. And I really loved that, and it really benefited me because it helped me find that passion that I was looking for. So connections from prior coursework is that I guess that my biggest class that I was able to connect with was my family stress and coping class. And in that class, we talked about self-care. And, families need to take care of themselves. And parents really influence how the family functions and works. And so in that class, we talked about the importance of self-care. And I read an article, and it said that it's very important for you as parents to take some time to care for yourselves as individuals, getting enough sleep, eating regular meals, taking a short walk, and doing the things that you really enjoy, even if you only can squeeze them in occasionally. And I think that's just so important. Parents, especially those that have kids with disabilities, get so burned out. They're running around. There's so many things on their mind that it's important to take a step back and to take care of themselves, because if they take care of themselves, they can truly take care of the rest of their family. Another area that we talked about in that class is about mindfulness, and that was really interesting to me. It's just mostly, helping you think positive thoughts and positive self-image, and being there in the moment. And another article that I read about families who have kids with disabilities, this article said, a positive attitude will be one of your genuinely valuable tools for dealing with problems. There is truly always a positive side to whatever is occurring. Focusing on the positive diminishes the negatives and makes life easier to deal with. And I think that's really important. Families with disabilities, they have to go through a lot of problems, especially when the child is first diagnosed or they're trying to figure out the diagnoses. There's a lot of grief and anxiety and questions and sorrow. There's so many different things. They're just surrounded by so many negative things, and working with doctors and other professionals that are always telling them what's wrong. It can be such a negative lifestyle, but there's also so much positive too, and there's so much happiness. And so when they can reframe and switch their mindset to focus on the positives, life will be so much better. And so I think that making that connection is really important. And then another one, the last point is about coping. We learned a lot about coping in this class, and that's just so important for working with families in general, but especially families that have kids with disabilities, because there's a lot of things that they need to cope with, a lot of things that they go through. Every family copes differently, and so as a professional, it's important to be able to have that understanding and to be able to help these families in little ways to help them cope with some bad news or the things that they're going through. But overall, the things that I learned from all my coursework is in marriage and family studies student is just how important the family is to all the individuals that make up that family. families that have kids with disabilities, like the siblings can suffer. They can have not get enough time from their parents, or they might have too much responsibility. They might feel resentment. So it's important to include the kids and just stuff and pay attention to them or the other siblings. And the parents' relationship is also really important. How, if their relationship is strong and solid and healthy, then the rest of the family will be healthy. And so I think that it's really important that we focus on the whole family instead of just an individual. While the individual is super important, I think that if we really want to be successful, we need to include the whole family. And so those were some of the connections I made throughout all my coursework, but mostly focusing on family stress and coping. So I would definitely recommend this internship. There's a couple things you can do. You can do it like I did, where I worked with the director of child services, and working with families and seeing what that's like. Or you can work with the kids, which is also so fun. The kids are so fun to work with, and you learn so much, and it's such a rewarding experience. Or you can work with other staff members as that are over creating goals and plans for the children. And so it really is such a rewarding job. You learn so much about yourself, so much about family, so much about just a whole different community, and it really opens your eyes. And so if you are interested in doing an internship with the Kids Center for Journeys, you would contact Lana, and her number is 208-522-1217. Good luck with all of your classes, and hopefully find a great internship.